is understanding that we have within us this incredible power, and a lot of times the solution comes from finding ways to tap into that power, not necessarily relying on any external thing, but finding ways to tap into that power within us.
I'm Garrett Salpeter, and I believe that the most powerful and transformative way to help people recover from pain and injury, heal from trauma, and reach their highest levels of fitness and performance is to focus on the nervous system. In this podcast, we'll share knowledge from the frontiers of neuroscience and inspirational stories of how applying that knowledge has empowered people from all walks of life to heal, adapt, and grow.
Every once in a while on this podcast, we're going to shift gears away from neuroscience and clinical outcomes and talk more about the business side of things. And today we're going to talk about a really important component of the business side of things, which is the mission and core values of an organization. And if you hear me say they're important, you might roll your eyes at first or chuckle or dismiss it, because so many organizations really miss out on the opportunity and the power of having a clear mission and clear core values, because they have, mission statements like having the best quality and being the industry leader, and they have core values that are generic things like integrity and collaboration, and things that although they're very positive terms and noble concepts, noble pursuits, they either don't really exist within the organization. They don't influence the behaviors of everyone day to day. They kind of hear them, they go in one ear out the other, and they don't really have any traction within the day-to-day operations of the business. And I think that that's a tremendous opportunity being missed. And I thought it would be fun to record this today and just share with you, a little look behind the curtain into our mission and our core values at NeuFit, and how that influences me and our team and our day-to-day interactions and really everything that we do. They kind of serve as decision-making guidelines or filters through which we view challenges and opportunities, and they really are a strong influence on us. So I want to start to set the stage by sharing a quote, at least a paraphrased quote, from Roy Disney. And Roy was Walt Disney's brother. They started the Disney entertainment business together, and Roy was kind of the day-to-day operations leader. Walt was more the creative visionary, and Roy was more the day-to-day, operations guy that brought that vision into reality and helped run the nuts and bolts of the business. He had a great quote that said something to the effect of, when you know what your values are, it's easy to make decisions. And what that means is, if say you're an athlete or you're training an athlete, and that athlete says that he or she wants to win the gold medal at the Olympics. Well, if that really is their core value, highest priority mission, that becomes a decision-making guideline, where if the athlete is faced with a choice of, hey, I want to go out and party with my friends tonight and drink a lot of alcohol, or I want to stay home, get to bed early, and be well rested so I can wake up in the morning and be prepared to make the most of my training tomorrow. Those are really the choices. Sometimes we're not clear about those choices, or sometimes we don't necessarily see, but if we really pay attention, people will show us what their values are based on the choices that they make. And if that athlete is clear enough in his or her mission, then that choice becomes a lot easier. It's a lot easier to say no to going out late to that party or going to the club or whatever. It's a lot easier to get into bed early, because even if there's a little bit of delayed gratification, it's for a reason. It's for a larger cause. And the more clear that value is, the easier it is to make those decisions. In terms of these core values and mission statements and things like that, a lot of times they're ineffective because they're so generic. So I'll read you three core values here. So respect, integrity, and excellence. Now on the surface, those seem like they might be positive core values, right? They're noble or good, good things to pursue. Those were actually the three core values of Enron in 2000. Before Enron had their massive fraud, the whole company went under. They lost, fortunes for everybody, and then they lost, I don't know if it was billions or hundreds of millions, insane amounts of money that was lost. And their core values, I mean, they had them written on paper, but they obviously weren't filtering down and influencing the day-to-day behavior of the people in the organization. And I got that from an article by Patrick Lencioni, who's a good business author who I've read a couple books, and he's got great material. But that example of Enron is, I think is a fabulous one. It shows that a lot of times these core values are just, they're either just words, or they're aspirational and are not actually being lived within the organization. And there's a few ways to really make sure that they live within the organization. And one is to make sure everybody knows them, work them into the onboarding and hiring process. When we're hiring someone here at NeuFit, for example, we use our core values as a filter through which we, actually allow people to pass through and, to interview or to work with us or not. If they don't meet or don't agree with, or we don't feel confident that they'll be able to live according to our core values, we know they're not a good fit for our team. So they should be, good core values should be sort of like a good marketing message, where it's a little bit at least polarizing, where the right people are going to be attracted, but it's also a strong enough statement that the wrong people will be repelled. And I think that has to do with having the statement be clear, and have it be something that that's really meaningful to the people in the organization. So we can look behind the curtain now. We'll talk about NeuFit and our mission and our core values. So our mission statement is to help people access the power of their neurology to heal, adapt, and grow. And heal, adapt, and grow, that can mean all sorts of different things. That can mean healing from an injury or surgery. That can mean adapting by making neuroplastic changes after a spinal cord injury or stroke or something like that. It can mean adapting to the rigors of performance training and becoming stronger, bigger, faster, whatever. It could mean cognitive adaptations, adapting psychologically, becoming more resilient, or cognitively quicker and more intelligent. Many of those are all, of course, controlled by the nervous system. And growth can mean literally growing, bigger muscles, stronger connective tissue. It could mean growing psychologically, spiritually as a human being. And so all of that fits into our mission statement. And so if we're evaluating a business opportunity, for example, if someone came to us and said, for example, hey, we want to get one newbie per state, and we're gonna pay you $1 billion. Someone might look at that and say, well, yeah, that's an interesting proposition. That's more than I could probably make doing anything else. And but for us, it actually would not be aligned with our mission, because if there's one newbie machine in each state of the United States, and it's only able to serve 100 or 200 people a year, that we're not helping people access the power of their neurology. We're not having the impact that we want to have. That when we read our mission statement to us, that means helping, working with thousands of therapists and doctors and professionals, and through them being able to impact the lives of millions of people. And so that is the type of impact that we want to have. And anything that is not in line with that, it makes it easier for us to say no to. It gives us that decision-making guideline, or that effective criteria through which to evaluate potential opportunities. Our core values are also something that we recite as a team, that we use in hiring, we use in evaluating our team members. If we have open positions or opportunities to promote or whatever, we use those to evaluate people. Every once in a while, unfortunately, in life and business, we have to let people go. We use those core values as criteria for figuring out if someone is no longer a good fit for the team, and if unfortunately we have to part ways. And so it's something that influences all of these different thought processes for us. And so I thought it would be cool to do this and just kind of share ours with you. So we have basically 3 core values, and I would love to go into them with you today. The first is being solution oriented. And this inspiration really comes from my experience with the traditional medical model and how frustrating it was, because my perception, it's not always true. I know there are wonderful doctors and therapists. By no means is this a blanket statement about everybody. However, there are, I think, a lot of times where, particularly in our Western medical system, where doctors or therapists will say that because we don't have a solution for it, either it can't be solved or it always has to be this way and no better. And I think there's this kind of, there's the placebo effect where the mindset is a positive thing. There's also the nocebo effect where if someone says something can't happen, that can influence, the patient to actually start to believe that and lose that hope for a potential solution. And so for me, it was, I had various injuries, and in the traditional orthopedic world, I was told that I would have to have surgery. I'll tell you a little more about that in a bit. Have to wear a brace for months, have to rely on taking Advils and Aleve, like every day after hockey practice. And these were very kind of disempowering, dehumanizing. These were solutions or proposed suggestions that I just didn't really like, because I had a sense that there was more power inside of myself to heal, adapt, and grow, like in our mission statement. I had a sense that that there was a better way, that there was a way to actually solve these problems instead of just relying on this crutch for months or for the rest of my life. And so it's the same type of thing as if someone has cancer, for example, and the oncologist says, you only have 6 months to live. You need to get your affairs in order. You know what? Statistically, the oncologist is certainly on the side of greater probability. However, what I would prefer to see happen is to say, okay, instead of you have 6 months to live, you have to get your affairs in order, that's it. What I would prefer to hear is that doctor to say, you know what? We've exhausted everything we can do for you based on our statistics and our models and our methods. Chances are you probably only have about 6 months to live. However, there are people who have spontaneous remissions. There are people who have recovered from situations like this, even if it's 1 out of 1,000. And just because I can't help you, that doesn't mean that someone else might not be able to help you. And it's this idea of giving a proclamation that there cannot be any possibility. Well, we can at least leave the door open. So our idea here with being solution oriented is that we're not curing people of cancer. So that's different conversation thread altogether. However, we are trying to bring hope to people who are otherwise left behind by the traditional medical models. People who have had spinal cord injuries, have MS, are told they're just never going to be able to move again, or this or that. We've been able to find ways to bring hope to those people. People who were told that they were going to have surgery, they were always going to have to rely on this crutch or always be in a wheelchair. So, we've been able to bring hope to many of those people. And again, not like, it's like flipping a switch and all of a sudden the newbie cures everything, or our methods or any, but we have gotten significant progress for people in situations where they otherwise would have just been totally left behind and no one was offering them a solution. And even worse, there are many times where that message comes across of, because I don't have a solution, there's not a solution. And so what we will tell people here at NeuFit, and what we coach our people to communicate, is the message that we're going to try our best. We're going to use all the tools at our disposal. If, God forbid, we can't help you, you know what? That doesn't mean that it can never be fixed. That just means that we're going to refer you to someone who can. And we're going to try to make the most intelligent recommendation that we can, because we believe that there always is a solution. We believe that the human spirit, that the life force that we have within us can overcome incredible challenges, can do things that most people don't even believe is possible. And that's the belief that underlies our work. And that's something that I hope comes across in these podcast episodes, comes across in the NeuFit practitioners that you work with, or other people in our community that you interact with. Because what we're really trying to do is not use technology like the newbie or something to replace us. It's not like a robot that's going to do things for us. We're using that technology to tap into and access the power that we have within all of us. And that's really the underpinning of this core value of being solution oriented, is understanding that we have within us this incredible power And a lot of times the solution comes from finding ways to tap into that power, not necessarily relying on any external thing, but finding ways to tap into that power within us. So that's the first core value.
If you're ready to supercharge your practice, listen to this. Garrett and Team NeuFit have just released a new online course entitled Introduction to the NeuFit Method. In this detailed 8-hour course, you'll gain mastery of the fundamental techniques in our practice, including muscle testing and activations, nerve glides, and joint articulations. You'll also get introduced to our patented direct current stimulation device, the Newbie, an incredible machine that's empowered professionals just like you to help their patients heal, adapt, and grow faster than they ever thought possible. To learn more, go to www.neu.fit/learn. And now back to the show.
The second is to lead by example. And so for us, this means things like being an example of good health, acting with integrity and professionalism. So we want to lead by example in a few different ways. One of the biggest ones is to show that it can be done. We want to be able to be that example that can inspire our patients and clients. So if someone comes in here and they have I'll just speak from my own experience. If someone comes in here and they have a hip injury, for example, I can speak to them about the experience I had with my own hip, where I had a labral tear, femoral acetabular impingement, and I was told 12 years ago that I needed to have a hip surgery where they would cut off the head of my femur, shave it down, reposition it at a different angle, put it back in, and I just couldn't do it at the time. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It went against, just a lot of my, I guess, maybe core values, even though I hadn't really defined them yet, that long ago. But, and now, I've heard stories of people who did have those surgeries. Some had good outcomes, but there's some that, have bad outcomes, and they were a little experimental at the time. So whatever the case is, I went down the road of using our own technology and methods to optimize function as much as I could, optimize the mechanics of my hip as much as I could, got back to the point where I could, skate like on the ice, like play hockey. I could swing a golf club without pain, whereas, when it was first bothering me, like I couldn't do either of those things without excruciating pain. So I got back a long way. And then, got to the point where some of the different treatments had caught up. So I was able to try things like, bone marrow stem cells and do other things in my hip and avoid that surgery. And between the Newbie and some various regenerative practices, it's at a much better place. I'm able to do a lot more of those activities and able to get to a level that I certainly was told I never would be able to get to without surgery. And again, I'll give the caveat that there are many times when surgery is necessary. There's many times when something is legitimately broken and needs to be put back together. Thank goodness we have skilled surgeons in those times. There are, times where I believe surgery is overprescribed and done when it doesn't necessarily have to be done, and performed in cases when, the outcomes end up not being super positive. But thankfully, I've had the privilege of interacting with a lot of very bright and responsible orthopedic surgeons, and they are also in line with this approach of let's try the least invasive measures first. Let's try a NeuFit first, and then if that doesn't work, if the functional approach doesn't work, we realize it might be more structural. Maybe the surgery is justified, but let's exhaust all of our options first. And so I think that there's a movement in the orthopedic surgery community into this same line of thinking as well. And, I applaud you doctors listening for that, because it's right in line with our core values. Some other examples are, if someone comes in here more on the fitness side instead of the rehab side, and they're frustrated because they're having trouble losing weight or reaching their body composition goals, when they see the people on our team here who eat a very healthy, sustainable diet. I'll say diet, but I don't mean like they're on a diet. I mean like they have a very healthy, sustainable, routine or eating strategy that they can follow every day. It's something that not like they're going to crash diet for 20 days and then they're going to yo-yo their weight back up because they can't sustain it. People are doing that and are in here working out, and they're on the Newbie, and they're showing, what it's like to really emotionally and psychologically participate in a workout. They're really leading by example. And when a new client comes in here to our office and they see team members who have achieved the exact thing that they want, it helps them understand, oh my gosh, I'm in the right place because I'm working with someone who not only understands where I've been, they understand where I want to go, and they know how to help me get there because they've helped themselves get there. So leading by example is a big deal. And then the other elements of this are the integrity and professionalism, and the way that we carry ourselves, and we put on our professional pants and wear our NeuFit shirts, and we always behave with integrity, and we behave the way that it's kind of like the golden rule. Act as we would want to be treated, or treat people as they would want to be treated. I think that's the platinum rule. Even better way to say that. The third core value that we ascribe to here at NeuFit is to always be learning. So this is an element of mastery. Mastery is a process of not just going up and learning and taking a shortcut and doing everything right away. Mastery is a long-term process of actually going through the effort to rise up a level, learn something, and then run into that next challenge and hang out on a plateau for a little while and work through and figure out what you need to learn or do to move on to the next one. And then the same thing. It's this iterative process of getting better, running into the next challenge, finding a way to overcome it, getting better, running into the next challenge, finding a way to overcome it. And there's an element of this, if we're always learning, in addition to striving for mastery, there's an element of humility, where if I think I know everything, I have no reason to learn anything new. And so it's really important that we have this element of open-mindedness, and it's really right in line with the solution-oriented, where we don't presume to know that we know everything, and therefore we can say with absolute certainty, oh, you're just going to have to live like this forever because we can't help you. No, it's this humility of, what, we can't help you. We've tried our thing, either we can't help you right now, or it would take a long time or whatever. But we also respect the power that you have within you as a human being. We respect the intelligence of other people in the world. We're not the only game in town. There's other very intelligent, driven, creative people who are working on solutions. And you know what? We might suggest that you go see Dr. So-and-so and across town or whatever. And this idea of always learning is a big part of our process here. So one of the things that we do here is we have regular continuing education and R&D meetings with our team, where we either review basics and go back over the fundamentals to ensure that we've mastered the fundamentals with our staff here in Austin. And that's part of that mastery, is you got to know the basics. The basics can take you a long way. And then in terms of always learning, we have these research and development meetings where we throw out ideas about new things we want to try with the newbie, new treatment strategies, new types of conditions with which we think we might be able to help, or something like that. And then we talk through them and we share new information, and then we actually try those treatments. So part of this active research and development, that's part of why we actually have our facility here in Austin and don't just sell machines. We love having this, not only because of the amazing service we get to provide to people in our community and how gratifying and rewarding it is to help people with all of their recovery, rehabilitation, and their fitness goals. It also allows us to be able to see some of the most challenging cases and forces, it's a kind of a forcing function for that creativity, where we have to come up with new solutions and develop new protocols. And that's part of our process here, where we kind of have it built in that we will always be learning. And so those are our core values. And I hope that either was interesting or inspiring to you, or it showed you something maybe that you don't like, but in doing that, it helped you clarify something that's even more important, and something that maybe you can use for the core values in your clinic or your practice or your business. And something that I just felt inspired to share, because I know these are so often overlooked or met with people rolling their eyes, but these are really powerful opportunities to create intentionally your identity as an organization, as a business, as really a community and family. And if you can find ways to gain traction with them and really incorporate them into day-to-day practice, it can have a really, really positive impact on your overall outcome as a group. So hopefully this was helpful. Signing off. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for listening to the Undercurrent podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a review and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date as we release future episodes.